That night, after Jessica left, Eric sat in silence. The weight of her betrayal crushed him. He had sacrificed so much for her, given her everything she ever wanted. And yet, his hands trembled as he reached for his phone. Memories built on what he thought was love. Jessica's story is a powerful lesson in karma. What goes around comes around. As her life takes an unexpected turn, will she lose everything, or is there still hope? This eye-opening journey will leave you speechless. Stay tuned for the full story and make sure to follow the unseen edges. Share it with your friends and family so they don't miss out on this must-watch tale. Now, they felt like lies. The house, once filled with warmth, now felt unbearably cold. He could still hear her voice echoing in his mind, mocking, indifferent, cruel. The love he thought they shared had never truly existed. And that realization shattered him more than the betrayal itself. Liam arrived the next morning to check on him. Seeing his brother's state, he sighed and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Eric, you can't let this break you. You're stronger than this." Eric rubbed his tired eyes. I don't know where to start. I built my whole life around her. And now, I have nothing." Liam shook his head. "No, brother. You still have me. And you still have yourself. That's more than enough." Eric wanted to believe those words, but the emptiness inside him was overwhelming. For days, he barely ate. Sleep was elusive. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jessica walking away, her cruel smirk haunting his thoughts. But then something shifted. Maybe it was Liam's unwavering support, or perhaps the sheer necessity of survival. Whatever it was, Eric forced himself to get up. He started small, eating full meals, going for short walks. He focused on his health, sticking to the treatments recommended by his doctor. Though the pain in his body lingered, the weight in his heart slowly began to lift. Little by little, he was reclaiming himself. Meanwhile, Jessica spiraled into despair. The man she had left Eric for the one she thought would give her a better life had abandoned her. At first, she was confident. She told herself she would never look back. But things didn't go as planned. She had spent years living in luxury, spending Eric's money without a second thought. Now she found herself broke and alone. She tried reaching out to friends, but they all knew what she had done. None of them wanted to be associated with a woman who had so easily betrayed her husband. Job applications were rejected, and landlords refused to rent to her. Jessica, who once lived in comfort, now struggled to afford a single meal. One cold evening, as she sat alone in a dingy motel room, her stomach growling with hunger, she stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror. Her once radiant skin was pale, her eyes sunken with exhaustion. How did it come to this? Panic clawed at her. She had never considered the possibility of losing everything. Desperation led her back to the only person who had ever truly cared for her. Eric was in Liam's office, going over the inheritance documents when the door burst open. Jessica stood there, her once pristine appearance now a shadow of its former self. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes desperate. "Eric, I made a mistake. I want to come home." Liam immediately stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. "This isn't your home anymore." Jessica ignored him, her eyes locked onto Eric's. "I was wrong, Eric. I should never have left. Please give me another chance. I can change." Eric stared at her, his expression unreadable. He had dreamed of this moment, the moment she would regret everything. But now that it was happening, he felt nothing. No anger, no sorrow, just an overwhelming sense of closure. He exhaled and spoke calmly. "Jessica, the woman I loved no longer exists. And the man who loved her doesn't either." Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, Eric, I have nowhere else to go." He met her gaze, his voice firm. "That's not my problem anymore." Jessica's expression twisted into one of rage. "You'll regret this." Eric simply smiled. "No, Jessica." "You will." As she stormed out, slamming the door behind her, Liam grinned and patted Eric on the back. That was satisfying to watch. Eric chuckled softly, shaking his head. It was. With his inheritance secured and Jessica finally out of his life, Eric focused on himself. He started physical therapy, regained his strength, and even began exploring new passions, things he had put aside for Jessica's sake. He took up reading again, something he once loved but abandoned in the chaos of his toxic marriage. He reconnected with old friends, strengthening bonds he had let slip. He even started volunteering at a local community center, finding fulfillment in helping others. Months later, while walking through a park, he met someone new. Someone kind, genuine, and compassionate. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, laughter replacing the silence that once haunted him. As they laughed over coffee, Eric realized something. True strength isn't just about enduring pain, it's about knowing when to let go. And for the first time in a long time, he was finally free. Later that evening, he sat on his porch, watching the sunset with a peaceful heart. Liam joined him, handing him a beer. "Here's to a fresh start, brother." Eric clinked bottles with him, a smile spreading across his face. To a future worth living. And as the last rays of the sun faded, so did the shadows of his past. Eric's story wasn't just about betrayal, it was about resilience. Life had handed him an unfair hand, but he didn't let it define him. He learned the hardest lesson of all, that some people only love you when it benefits them. But real strength lies in walking away and choosing yourself. Jessica lost everything because she underestimated the power of karma. And Eric? He emerged stronger, wiser, and freer than ever before. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't anger, it's happiness. Eric exhaled deeply, feeling lighter than he had in years. Because true strength isn't just about enduring pain, it's about knowing when to let go. Subscribe to The Unseen Edges for more gripping stories like this.